Admiral Zexton watched through the viewport of his flagship as the blue-green marble called Earth hung before them, seemingly defenseless. His fleet of 300 warships formed a perfect sphere around the planet, each vessel bristling with plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes. After 6 months of travel from the hegemony's core worlds, they had finally arrived to claim this primitive world for the Empire. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "we are receiving multiple transmissions from the planet's surface. They appear to be surrender requests?" Zexthon's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. As expected, these humans lasted barely 3 centuries since achieving spaceflight. They lack the technological sophistication to pose any threat to our forces. The bridge crew exchanged glances. Throughout the hegemony's 1,000-year expansion, no species had ever surrendered so quickly. Most fought desperately, even hopelessly, before accepting defeat. But perhaps these humans were simply more rational than most. "Sir," the sensor technician called out, "a single vessel is approaching our position. It appears to be unarmed." Zexthon turned his attention to the tactical display. A small craft, primitive by hegemony standards, was indeed making its way toward the flagship. Scans revealed no weapons, no shields, no defensive capabilities whatsoever. It was little more than a metal tube with engines. "Should we destroy it, Admiral?" asked his weapons officer. "No, let them approach. I am curious to hear their final words before we begin the occupation." The human vessel docked with the flagship's auxiliary bay. Security teams were positioned throughout the ship, though Zexthon doubted they would be necessary. What could one unarmed human possibly accomplish against an entire fleet? Minutes later, the bay doors opened, and a single figure emerged. Zexthon observed through the security feeds as a human in a simple blue uniform walked calmly through the corridors. No weapons, no escort, no protection of any kind. The being moved with purpose, but without the frantic energy of desperation that the Admiral had seen in so many conquered species. When the human was brought to the bridge, Zexthon was struck by how unremarkable it appeared. Average height, bipedal, with the typical bilateral symmetry common to most spacefaring species. Nothing about its physical form suggested any particular threat or capability. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force," the human said, her voice steady. "I've come to discuss terms." Zexthon laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Terms? You are surrounded by 300 of our finest warships. Your planet has no defenses, no fleet, no hope of resistance. What terms could you possibly offer?" Captain Chen smiled, a facial expression that Zexthon found disturbing in its apparent genuineness. "I'd like to offer you the chance to leave peacefully." The bridge fell silent. Several officers looked to each other in confusion. Zexthon felt his secondary heart skip a beat. Either this human was completely insane or... "Explain yourself," he demanded. "We've been monitoring your approach for months," Chen continued, still maintaining that unsettling smile. "We know about your empire, your conquests, your standard operating procedures. You arrive, you threaten, you conquer, you enslave. It's quite predictable, really. And yet you offer us terms?" Zexthon's voice carried a dangerous edge. "Because you've made an assumption about us. You've assumed that because our technology appears primitive, we're defenseless. You've assumed that because we haven't built a vast military fleet, we're weak." Chen paused, her eyes meeting the Admiral's. "You've assumed that because we sent one unarmed human to meet you, we're surrendering. Are you not?" The Admiral's confidence was beginning to waver. "Admiral, may I ask, in all your conquests, how many species have you encountered that achieved spaceflight without first achieving the ability to destroy their own planet?" The question caught Zexthon off guard. That is not relevant. It's completely relevant," Chen interrupted. "Every species you've conquered, every world you've claimed, they all learned to reach the stars, but they never learned to live together. They developed weapons alongside their starships. They militarized space as they explored it." Zexthon's tactical mind began working furiously. "But humans are different. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times before we figured out how to survive as a species. We learned cooperation, restraint, wisdom. We developed our space program not as an extension of our military, but as a means of survival and exploration. Chen's voice remained calm, almost conversational. So when we achieved the ability to build starships, we didn't build weapons. We built something else. What? The word escaped Zexton's throat as barely a whisper. Admiral, what do you know about human engineering? Our tendency to overbuild things, to create redundancies, to prepare for the worst possible scenario. Zexton's blood ran cold as understanding began to dawn. You see, when humans colonized our solar system, we didn't just build habitats and mining stations. We built them to be defensive. Every asteroid mining platform, every orbital station, every deep space outpost, they're all equipped with the most devastating weapons we could devise. Not ships, Admiral. Infrastructure. The human reached into her pocket, slowly, showing no threatening intent, and withdrew a small device. 300 ships sounds impressive until you realize that you're surrounded by 10,000 weapon platforms, all of which have been tracking your fleet since you entered our system. Each one is powered by a fusion reactor and armed with relativistic projectile launchers. Basically, we turn asteroids into bullets and fire them at a significant percentage of light speed. Zexton's tactical display suddenly lit up like a constellation. Everywhere he looked, asteroids, space stations, even some of what he had assumed were comets, all were now showing active weapon signatures. The thing about humans, Admiral, is that we learned a long time ago that the best way to survive is to be too dangerous to attack, while being too peaceful to threaten anyone first. Chen's smile broadened. We don't build warships because we don't need them. We built our entire solar system into one massive defensive grid. The Admiral's voice cracked as he spoke. You could have destroyed us at any time. We could have destroyed you while you were still 3 light years away. Our deep space monitors spotted you before you even knew we existed. Chen pocketed the device. But we prefer to give people a choice. You can leave now, spread the word that Earth is under the protection of a species that doesn't want to conquer anyone, but will absolutely defend themselves. Or, Zexton managed. Or you can stay, and we'll show you what human hospitality really looks like. We've got coffee, pizza, movies, music, art, literature, sports, games. We've got a whole culture built around the idea that life should be enjoyed, not just endured. For a long moment, the bridge was silent, except for the hum of ship systems and the rapid beating of Zexton's hearts. You would welcome us? Admiral, humans have a saying. The best way to defeat an enemy is to make them a friend. We're not interested in ruling anyone. We're interested in learning, growing, exploring, and having a good time while we do it. Your people are welcome to join us if you'd like. Zexton looked at his crew, then back at the human standing calmly in the center of his bridge, surrounded by armed aliens and showing not the slightest sign of fear. Stand down all weapons, he ordered quietly. Signal the fleet to power down combat systems. As his officers scrambled to comply, the Admiral found himself studying this strange species with new eyes. They had achieved something that no other race in the galaxy had managed. Perfect security through perfect hospitality. Captain Chen extended her hand in the human gesture of greeting. Welcome to Earth, Admiral. I think you're going to like it here. For the first time in his military career, Zexton found himself genuinely curious about what would happen next. Perhaps, he thought as he carefully accepted the human's handshake, this wouldn't be a conquest after all. Perhaps it would be something much better.